Welcome to NVC episode 423, live here from IGN Studios in San Francisco. If this is your first time watching NVC, shame on you. Remember, you can watch us every week, Thursdays, 3 p.m. PST, and then you can download the podcast via iTunes in audio format and find us on YouTube the next day at Nintendo Voice Chat. I brought my friends along to talk about Nintendo today. Yes, I have Casey DeFreitas.
Hey.
The great Brian Altano.
Hello.
And all the way from IGN's London studios.
Hello.
Yeah. Daniel Krupa.
This is the first time doing live stuff. I usually do live stuff, but we then tape it and then put it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
We,
all right.
So you, of course, star in the popular show Prepare to Try.
What's it? Yeah.
Prepare to Try,
yes.
which I hear you guys actually record for 20 hours and then you edit it down to 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's the most kind of efficient show we do at IGN in terms of ROI. It takes us about 20 hours to do one episode.
Is that true? Really?
Yeah, because they die.
So one time we did Lawrence in Bloodborne, and that episode, one day we literally filmed for 12 hours straight.
Okay,
and we start like in the afternoon, and we do it into our own time. We left the office at midnight.
So when
I
you
was making a joke, but
so when you beat a boss in one of those games,
my tears are real.
Yeah, that's a
you can't fake
legitimate.
that. We were in that studio for 2 days as 3 guys, and it smells, and I want to get out of there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's why I cry sometimes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's start the show. If you are joining us live here in the chat on IGN, know that you can ask questions. We'll be getting to the questions at the end, but if you have an amazing question now, just pop it into the chat and someone will get it and send it back to me at the end of the show. So don't hesitate to pepper some questions in there. Plus, you can get answers from some wonderful other chatters. So we were originally going to do a reaction episode to Nintendo's direct stream that was scheduled for 3 p.m. today, our regular start time. But, unfortunately, due to the earthquake in Hokkaido, Nintendo canceled that stream. Now, you should know that Hokkaido is all the way up here in Japan, and Nintendo's headquarters in Kyoto are actually 600 miles far away. So obviously they canceled this out of respect for people who were killed in the earthquake, and people are still missing at this time. And I think it's a wise decision to delay that.
Right.
We actually have, in the Nintendo Voice Chat fan group on Facebook, we actually have a fan who lives in Hokkaido.
Yeah, which was really interesting to read this morning. You can join the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast forums on Facebook. It's one of the last few good things on Facebook, so go join that. Rachel Kahn, NVC fan, says, "Hi guys, NVC fan and resident of Hokkaido here. I see a lot of people are upset about the cancellation of the Direct. That was actually surprising. I didn't think it would ever be a thing I would see. For instance, my boss called me to ask if I could work today, even though the sidewalk outside of my building sunk into the ground. That's how much the show goes on here." That's that Japanese work ethic, So for Nintendo to change their schedule, it's a pretty big thing. It felt like the rest of Japan was really concerned and worried for us here in Hokkaido, and I won't lie, it was a little heartening to think that Nintendo cared enough to do that, even if you want to be cynical and say it's pretense or some ulterior motive. It's something at least. The power went at 3 a.m. while the ground was shaking. It's after 11 p.m. and nearly all of Sapporo City is in the darkness, save for the constant flashing of ambulances rushing to help injured and at-risk people. So yeah, to the people unaffected by this event all around the world, it's enraging to think that Nintendo has inconvenienced you because you planned to watch a Direct and it didn't happen. But I can't begin to explain how inconvenient it is when a deadly earthquake strikes a country and wipes out power for millions of people on an entire island. Anyway, let's all watch the Direct together when the lights come on. Yeah. And the Direct will be September 13th.
That's the rumor date. We don't know that yet for sure.
It's important to point out, like, this isn't live. The Direct's all like pre-recorded. It's ready to go, so they can drop it at any time, really.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's, I feel some much needed perspective from Rachel. So thank you for that. Video games are a good escapism from reality, but it takes reality to create video games. So don't forget that people make the things that you enjoy. They don't just materialize out of thin air. And we only knew about this Direct like 2 days ago anyway.
So it was I was happy that it appeared on our radar because it means we can be super lazy with the show and just react to things. Yeah. And then, as it got moved, obviously we had to put together a real run of show.
Yeah.
And that means this week we'll be talking about the latest Nintendo Switch news, about some of the best games that came out on the Switch and also the 3DS. We'll take your questions at the end. But before we get to all of that, we are going to give our predictions, because now we actually have the time, as to what will be in the Nintendo Direct when it finally airs. rumors, and again, September 13th is a rumor date. We don't know that yet. It could pop up on Monday or any other date. And so I wanted to ask you guys, first of all, there was a leak. One of a Twitter user named Electric Video Gamer spotted that Nintendo's official site in the kind of the related game section was listing the next Yoshi game for Switch as Yoshi's Crafted World. So, a couple of people spotted this and screen captured this. I didn't see it myself.
Yeah, we haven't been able to replicate it, but because they've taken it down.
Right.
Seems pretty plausible given the theme of the game.
Yeah.
Do you guys like that name?
I was saying to Cooper right before the show started, I wish it was Crafty World because it kind of sounds like Woolly World. There's a little more like roll to it, but I don't know. I think it's cool. That means that we're going to get some concrete information about this game soon. It's been a while, and they've been kind of quiet about it. They were quiet during E3, and they sort of said off to the sidelines, "Hey, we're still working on it. It's taking its time. It'll be there when it's here." So
the name also gives me the sense that Crafted World instead of Crafty, it sounds like you will have something to do with making the world as you go.
Hopefully.
Was it similar kind of look and feel to Tearaway, like that kind of arts and crafts kind of aesthetic?
Right.
But in Tearaway, they really took advantage of like the cameras on the Vita where you could put like customized textures. I remember my favorite thing about that game is when you use the touchpad on the back of the Vita, your fingers pop through into the world.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's right.
It'd be cool, like you were saying, if they lean into that a little bit more.
That would be really interesting.
sure, HD Rumble and maybe the IR pointer and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
Obviously, this leak makes predictions a little easier, at least for one title, but I wanted to go through and first start with Switch games. Now, the presentation will be 35 minutes long. That's actually pretty long considering that we just got a direct filled with indie titles, which suggests that this will focus a little bit more on the kind of bigger titles, main titles, likely for Q4 of this year, but maybe there's something beyond. So I want to start with you, Casey. What do you think we'll see for Switch in the direct?
Well, so something that some people on Reddit noticed is that the Collector's Edition Smash controller, the Pro Controller, was actually moved up to a release date of September 28th on BestBuy.com. And then that was yesterday, and today it was moved back to its original December release date. And I wonder if they prematurely changed the date, expecting the direct to go through, and they might announce a Smash demo.
Oh, a demo.
I see.
And that's why they moved the controller up. And I also think that,
Good idea.
we all don't think there is a need for a Smash demo. But if Smash demo came out and you could only access it if you got the Nintendo Online services, it might.
You're smart.
This is good detective work.
Damn, that's good.
I feel like
I've just
Also,
written down a game I'd like.
incentivizing that with a physical purchase in a store
Mm-hmm.
is even smarter because then they're getting your money everywhere. Man, that's smart.
Are also going to have Smash demos at Best Buy as well. So I don't know. I'm just being a conspiracy.
look, I mean,
theorist
I
here.
love that.
they have a history of doing these test fire events where they test out the games on live online servers.
Well, it's very rare
Be a
that
cool date for it.
like it's I've seen a lot of games can figure out a way to sort of eventize a demo, but it's very rare that they also get me to purchase a peripheral. And this is, I feel like, something that would do that.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. You don't really buy a controller for a demo, but maybe you
you
would now.
would for Smash if you don't have a Pro controller yet.
Ryan, I don't know what to tell you. I think I would.
Oh, I know you would.
I think a lot of people would, even if they have all the Pro controllers in the world. Like, I still don't have a wireless Pro controller.
Yeah.
So
What?
Yeah, I know. I have wired ones.
Oh, you should, and especially this one that looks like a Dalmatian puppy. And I will keep saying that. Pear, you have like every Joy-Con ever made, but where do you stand on collecting Pro controllers?
I'm not as dedicated to that because it's not like you're theming your system on the go, but
Right.
I do happen to have all the Pro controllers. It's a total coincidence.
I don't collect them all, except I do collect them all.
On accident.
For a four-player team, I needed some for my kids, and so it was more fun to get
Yeah.
like the Xenoblade and
the Splatoon ones.
It makes more sense when you have more people at home. And
Right.
that way, if like somebody has like really nasty, stinky fingers, you can say, "All right, the Xenoblade one is yours from now on to the end of days."
I do that with my GameCube controllers. I have a white controller, and no one else is allowed to use it except for
Good.
me.
Oh,
Good. That's a good
any
rule.
parent knows if you have a white controller, it'll be a brown controller if you don't
yeah.
keep it to yourself.
Yep.
So awesome prediction. What about you, Brian?
For Switch?
What will we see?
Can I just Can I say something that I just want to be willed into existence?
Okay, will it into
Some of
existence?
my predictions as well.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Because I hate doing predictions because I've never been right about one ever in the history of this job.
The great thing about making predictions is people forget.
That's true.
And they remember the ones you get right.
That is very. Oh yeah, you're. Man, you're so good.
You just incite false hope in everyone.
Yeah, I want a Link's Awakening remake for Nintendo Switch.
So just like that, you just
I just
willed
want
that into
yeah,
existence.
because we haven't had a Zelda in a while.
And I've never heard you speak about Link's Awakening.
It's a really good game. You guys should check it out. It's my favorite video game of all time. That, or I really think porting the 3DS Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time to Switch is something that we're going to hear about soon.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be
Link's
cool.
Awakening. Like, are you envisioning kind of 2D style, but like more Link to the Past, like
Yeah,
redrawn?
probably in the Link Between Worlds engine.
Because it's a one-screen game with like scrolling screens, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd have to fake borders around it, but it's okay.
Very interesting. What
Some
about you,
musical instruments
Mr. Krupa?
Well, I expected them to talk about their online service in the Direct, and I thought, what better way to talk about it than showcasing a new game that uses online functionality? And recently, Bethesda's been bringing a lot of stuff to Switch and really using it. So I thought, what about Fallout 76 being on Switch?
Ooh. Well, that would be a big one.
Yeah.
That would be a really big game announcement.
But yeah, like just kind of like to showcase what online means and being quite like ballsy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a really big game. And like Bethesda have really gone in on the Switch recently. You know,
Yeah.
with Doom, they brought Wolfenstein, obviously Skyrim.
What about
I wonder
Elder
if they
Scrolls
just-
Online?
Yeah. That would
Yeah.
also work. Just something like that from a third party to
Yeah.
really like showcase what they're like. It's taken a long time to get an online system up and running on Switch, but don't worry. What a great statement to say the new next big online
Right.
game is going to be there right away.
Oh
would
man, that would
be-
be huge.
That would be awesome. Obviously, I think we all agree that Yoshi is going to be there, right? This is
Yeah.
a game that skipped E3, and we all said why. And so presumably, we'll see more about Crafted World if that's the title. I think we will see Bayonetta 3. I feel like
Also skipped E3.
also skipped E3. We haven't heard anything from that team in a while. Obviously, we saw the remakes hit, but presumably they didn't keep the team busy the entire time. It's an announced title. And then, there are a couple of titles that were rumored that fell by the wayside that we haven't seen yet. And I was looking sharp at Gamescom to see if they had the Switch version at their booth, but they didn't. For City Skylines. City Skylines is like a SimCity type game, and that one is in the works, but we haven't seen it yet. So I think they'll show some of these third-party titles. There was a rumor around Tomb Raider coming to the platform, which to me always sounded like, wow, that must be a lot of work to get that game to run on the machine. But I think they will pepper a big first-party announcement or second-party announcement into the Direct. I think we'll finally see Metroid Prime Trilogy as a collection releasing this year to bridge the gap to next year's Metroid Prime 4.
Oh man, I would love that so much. I think if we do get that announcement, it won't be this year. It'll be January, February.
You think so?
March.
You think Smash and Pokemon
big.
are too
Yeah.
much?
I think that
to
like
handle?
that and indie games and some third party stuff, and I think they feel like they've got enough in the oven for the rest of the year.
It's possible, but I also feel like they're very conscious of the fact that the Switch has a lot of ports. You know, we heard that another rumor was New Super Mario Brothers U making it over as a port, and I feel like, I think they'd be worried that their Q1 is going to be very port heavy, and so maybe they'll add a little bit more of that to the next quarter.
You think when they port that game, they keep the U in it?
No, New Super Mario Brothers. We all, you all.
Has there ever been a rumor of Mario Maker coming?
There have been rumors
Yeah.
about that, but just based on nothing. I think.
Yeah.
Mario.
Yeah,
Other
there's gonna be
than
a Mario
people
Maker.
liked it.
There's going to be a Zelda Maker built into the Mario Maker that you have to unlock by doing a special combination of
You
things.
can't just go on TV and lie like it was. like you're in a
I
lunch
read
room
it
and
on the
suck-
internet. It's
Yeah.
got to be true.
Oh yeah.
Does it have Monster Hunter Maker and Splatoon Maker
Yeah,
too?
it's got all of those
It's the
things.
Maker.
Yeah.
It's got
They're
all
totally
of the makers
free
you
and
ever
available.
wanted.
You'll never need
Right
to
now.
buy. You never need to buy a game again.
You could just
Make
make
them
them all
yourself.
They
yourself.
pay you to play it. It's crazy.
Speaking of, also, first of all, the Labo vehicle kit is almost out. I assume they'll show a quick clip of that as well. But this just reminded me that you did not predict Monster Hunter game to be at the Direct.
Well,
Which seems, I mean, first of all, are you okay?
it's something I really would like another Monster Hunter related
Yeah.
thing announced on the Direct.
It's been like a week.
You played,
Yeah.
you just talked.
I know.
You just got one
For
week
I
ago.
know,
90
I know.
minutes
So
last
here's-
episode.
here's the
We're over
reasoning.
here like Metroid fans. Like, we'll take anything from 20
Yeah.
years ago. You're like, it's been a week. Can I
More.
get another Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
So, but it's been doing incredibly well.
Sure.
Last year, we got Monster Hunter Stories ported to the West, which had been out in Japan for a while. I really think that Monster Hunter Stories 2 will happen, or a remaster of Monster Hunter Stories might come to Switch because they remastered that game for the iPad in Japan.
Oh.
So maybe we'll get a Monster Hunter Stories for the Switch. And since there are all these brand new Monster Hunter fans, it might do better.
And by the time the direct airs, it will have been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Since the last Monster Hunter,
fine.
which is totally enough time.
Let's shift gears and talk about 3DS for a second, because despite all of us being very excited about our Switches,
Yep.
There are a lot of people who own the 3DS and are looking forward to software. And right now the lineup is, September. We got a game for September with Yokai Watch, a new game that I think we'll talk a little bit about later. And then for October, we've got Luigi's Mansion coming to the 3DS, the original GameCube game. And then there's a hole, and there's a gap, and there are lots of people want to play games, and they'll be, eyeing what's coming out for Switch. What do you think will be announced or shown in the Direct for 3DS?
I really struggled to think of something for this one. Yeah, because I
Box Boy 4, Box Boy.
I just don't know what they would. I know this has got a huge install base, but I just don't know what they do right now, because I feel like a lot of that audience has moved on. Yeah.
They are. I mean, I think they're selling some of the special editions that are coming out now. The 2DS, I think, are selling pretty well.
I think it'll have its last strong holiday season.
You think?
I think, yeah.
What do you think? Anything specific?
So the one thing that I actually think is going to happen, maybe I'm crazy for this one, but 3DS doesn't have a Pokemon game this year, and Pokemon Quest launched a couple months ago on Switch. I think it's super easy to bring that over there. It'll be a little bit more of a pain in the ass to kind of monetize, because it's easier to buy stuff. It's a little snappier. It takes forever to buy anything on the 3DS.
Well, I think if they just made it a full game and just sold it to you at a normal 3DS price, and then didn't just unlock things as you progress through the game.
Is it possible to do that?
So all of the add-ons to Pokemon Quest only cost $50 total anyway.
Oh.
So if they just sell it at $35 and then just come up with a way for you to naturally unlock all of the extra things, that would make a lot of sense. And honestly, that game played as if it would play better on the 3DS anyway.
Yeah, totally.
My prediction would have been a Pokemon game as well. I find it hard to believe that Nintendo would put out Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee without some sort of lifetime of Pokemon on this machine where these games have sold millions. I was thinking maybe they'll do something like Pokemon Stadium, or maybe they'll go back with Luigi's Mansion. They're porting a GameCube game. Maybe they'll do Gale of Darkness, like one of the kind of the overlooked Pokemon games that were locked away on consoles before, and use a Pokemon game on 3DS to promote that the Switch has a new remake as well.
The reason I think Pokemon Quest is because it wouldn't directly compete with Switch owners who already have access to that game.
Yep.
Whereas Gale of Darkness would make people who own a Switch go, oh man, I got to get that too.
Yeah.
So, and then it would sort of split the user base a little bit.
So we in the IGN chat, you can join. Obviously every Thursday at 3 p.m. you can chat with us live. J Digital 2 said a Donkey Kong would be great too on Switch. Yes, we would love a Donkey Kong.
We did just come out with
Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
But there's, I think you'll probably see Nintendo Online presenting you a Donkey Kong game that came out a very, very long time ago with a multiplayer mode. KC Thundergiant is saying he's hoping for more information on Fire Emblem Three Houses for the Switch. I was thinking about whether they'll showcase that, but it's a next year game, so I feel like it's too early for them.
I think we'll get a lot of extended trailers for games coming out this fall that we haven't gotten an extended look at quite yet.
Yeah. Luigi's Mansion, I'm sure we'll see more of too. Yeah.
Do you guys remember the sort of verbiage? Did they specify that this would be focusing on stuff released this year, or they didn't actually say?
They didn't say anything, but they said, they did say, games coming, games that haven't been talked about much. So we'll see.
I think that's pretty telling, because usually they straight up say, these are, we're only focusing on this at E3, or we're only focusing on games. Games you'll be playing in 2018, stuff like that. So
So do you think we'll get a trailer for Metroid Prime 4 or something like one of the big anticipated games?
I think it opens the window for stuff past the next 3 months.
Yep.
So that's cool.
So a quick word, Blue Colwyn says, I think Nintendo will talk about Nintendo Switch Online. As you said, I think we all agree they will. Do you think they'll show games specifically?
I thought because that's the really big thing that we've all been waiting for for a
The
long,
date?
long
We don't have a
time.
date yet.
Yeah, and if it's coming out September, they have said, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Mid-September.
Later half
this being
of September,
delayed is
yeah.
going to push it closer, obviously, towards that release date. And I thought they want people to buy into the service. So I thought a lot of things in this direct will be geared around demonstrating it and making it like, yeah, I'm going to sign up day one. 'Cause
Right.
why wouldn't I? Like,
Right.
oh, I can have this game next month. I'm going to get this stuff day one once I sign up. So I thought a lot of it would be unpacking and making that seem as appealing as possible.
You're totally right. This is their last
Yeah.
big infomercial push for
And
Nintendo
they know they're late
Online.
with it
I
as
think
well.
that's the most realistic prediction, honestly, that they're just going to do a really big deep dive into their online service.
The description for the direct did not mention it, which
You're
I thought
right.
was
That is
interesting.
really
I felt
weird.
like this is the question everybody has, and they're like, "We'll talk about Switch and 3DS games for 35 minutes." Well, technically, like if they showcase Mario Brothers, the original game running on the online service with leaderboards and
I
all
don't
of that.
think, yeah, I
that's
don't
the
think it
Switch
has to
game.
be as dry as like, here is our online offering. This is how it's worked. Here's the pricing. I think you do it through illustrating it through new games.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it still seems really varied and like you've seen lots of cool new stuff. But at the end of every one, you go, you'll be able to do this online.
Yeah. You have to, and we've mentioned this on this show before, but like if you're an NVC fan, you're in the know, you're in the loop, you know what's going on. But for the average kind of uninformed Nintendo fan who's just turning on their Switch and playing, one day it's just going to be like, hey, it costs $20 to keep playing the stuff that you've been playing for a year already. And so they really got to get that message out loud and clear. And I think the one way to really incentivize the fact that suddenly you're paying something for something that was free for so long.
That's a really good point. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't know it's coming. Like we've been looking forward to this for like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people go, oh, it has this now. They'll get a notification when they boot it up one time. They go,
Right.
oh,
Yeah,
Right.
and they don't know. I mean, the Nintendo Online is priced lower than the competitors, right? It's $20 a year or $3.99 for a month. Is that right? $3.99.
Yeah, it's
for
like a
month.
fraction of the cost of the competitors.
I think a lot of people don't know that yet, and they may have heard that this system is moving to a pay structure, but think it's going to be priced like Live or PS Plus. So we'll close out this topic with just a comment from -81 from the IGN chat. I'm hoping for some exciting third-party announcements like Overwatch or GTA. I think we all hope for that too.
yeah. So
It seems like a lot to ask for.
Yeah, I was on a briefing call about Diablo 3 on Switch with a few of the producers at Blizzard, and we were talking to them, and me and Timur for GameSpot, we were basically saying, can you put Overwatch on the Switch? And we were pressing them, and they were very, obviously, as you imagine, very careful with what they said. Well, Overwatch is handled by an entirely different team. But they were like, yeah, it is feasible. It's technically feasible, and they are interested in the Switch as a platform in general. Because this is the first time they've worked on a Nintendo platform for like 15 years or something, and they want to start that collaboration again.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
that'd be awesome. We all want that. So we will move on to our next topic. We're going to discuss some of the news stories that came out in the last week. Obviously, with the direct, there would have been many, many more. But some of the things that happened in the last week. First of all, the company you love, Nintendo, has rebranded itself to Intendo. Because of all the things they're planning. That's because the N fell off the building.
Yes.
And this is, Japan suffered an earthquake, but also has been ravaged by typhoons for a couple of weeks. When I was in Japan, my flights got delayed twice because of typhoons. Once, hitting the south, once hitting, in the Tokyo region. And, this one passed the Kansai region, which includes Kyoto, and actually knocked the N off the building. Luckily, not a ton of damage to the city. Kyoto is a beautiful
the closest
city.
airport, the Kansai airport, has been closed
Yep.
for
So
quite a while.
So the misfortunes continue with weather in Japan. This was Typhoon Jebi. Hopefully that's the end of that, and Nintendo doesn't have to worry about anything falling off that building and can focus on making great games for us.
Exactly.
But there've been some announcements out there, and one of them was R-Type Dimensions coming to the platform. You guys hear that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
guys-
I'm a big old school R-Type fan. Like I feel like there's a lot of shmups on Switch, but not a ton of them are horizontal.
Yeah. Shoot 'em ups.
Shoot 'em up.
Oh
That's what
gosh,
the
I've
kids
never
call it,
heard
Casey.
shmups
What?
before. No, I've never heard anyone say that out loud.
Oh my god. Well, I think it's one of those words you read on the internet and it feels weird to say.
I hate saying
Shmups.
it. It sounds like
I'm with Casey. I've never heard someone say that.
never heard
never heard
Yeah.
shmup.
No.
It sounds like a curse word. Like it sounds like I'd be offending someone
no,
if I
it's
called
like-
you a
In New Jersey, it is.
Hey, you schmuck.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a collection of 2 great shmups, R-Type 1 and 2, and you'll get it with the original kind of sprite art, but you can also switch it to a more beautiful, kind of like a 3D-ish look. And this came out, this remake came out in 2009 on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and we gave it an 8.4 when it came out. I forget who reviewed it, but they actually added some features to the Switch version that you couldn't find in that one. One is this game has a slow motion mode. Like if you're not great, you can slow it down a little bit. Avoid all the bullets. The Switch version is for truly amazing people because it has a speed up function. So you have this fast forward mode, which honestly is really helpful in some of the areas where it's just kind of like you're entering a cave and there's not a lot of stuff attacking you. But it could be a nice little challenge. And then it has an achievement system on the Switch. So not platform level, but built into the game.
Oh, and you can pretend that you're drunk in front of a giant arcade cabinet too.
You can in fact play it on a giant arcade.
We've all been
cabinet
in
if
space.
you are strange and you don't want to see what's going on. You can do that.
Yeah, this is part of that initiative when everyone has said port everything to Switch. They're doing
really
it. They really are. Just pick an obscure game from like
New
11
stuff, old stuff. What do you want?
Yeah, you want Saints Row 2? Sure, here you go.
Someone's doing
Well.
it. Should we do this in order? Because you're doing
Night
new stuff.
Trap
I'm doing
here.
really old stuff. I'm putting in new features. You're not.
I feel like when they plan porting this, they're like, hey, there are not a lot of shmups on this system.
We need
we'll
more
get to the
shmups.
new releases next because there are a lot of shoot 'em ups on this machine now. So
Yeah.
the other cool announcement was Pinball FX3, which is already out on the Switch. The makers announced that they have the Williams Bally license now, and so previously you had to use Pinball Arcade, which isn't quite as good as FX3. FX3 really gets the ball physics right, and so this team being able to port what are some of the most beloved tables in pinball. Like, I'm sad we don't have Sam here because I think he cried big man tears into his mustache when this happened.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about this is that the licenses went up, and it was for a lot of licensed games. It was like, stuff like Terminator.
Yep.
And there was this kind of mad dash on the shop. I think it was June 30th. They were like, all of these games are disappearing or the licenses are going away. So if you want them, buy them now. And you had the option on Switch and other platforms to buy these packs of tables where if you have them now, that's the only place to get them there until they come to FX. So there's some, like, probably, what will be deemed as rare Switch units in 20 years that have that whole collection underneath that umbrella. And, that's just a weird thing to do.
Yep, and
Pinball people are strange.
so-
I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that.
I have to admit, I don't know all of the tables, but the big, the first ones they announced, Fishtails, Junkyard, the Getaway High Speed 2, but the one that has every pinball fan freaking out is Medieval Madness. Sam says this is widely considered to be the best pinball table of all time. And so when you download FX3, you can do that right now. It's free. The tables, however, are not, and usually packages are like $10 or $6 for multiples. Some of the standalone tables are $3. We'll see how much these will be, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're getting that. And then another announcement. So unfortunately, a lot of the announcements right now are not new games that we're hearing about, new indie games, but not kind of like the package software are usually ports, and Lego Harry Potter is no different. So we'll see the classic Traveler's Tales Lego games coming to the Switch with the Potter games. And so I forget, was it on the Wii? It came out ages ago. didn't
Yeah,
it?
they were
It
on
was
the
two
Wii.
games, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2 games. So the first half of the story, so years 1 through 5, and then 5 through 7 was the second game dealing with the later books.
These were really fun games, and IGN gave them 8 and 8.5 for great. So they're great games, and you can play co-op with 2 people. They're super simple to get into, and I think there's drop-in co-op.
This is, I mean, there's so much in these 2 packages together. That's a lot of gameplay.
Yeah.
They're good co-op games, good to play with kids, though they will make you mad when you fall into holes over and over as Hagrid.
I hope these sell really well so that they consider porting Lego Star Wars to Switch, because that's my jam.
Yeah.
Lego Star Wars.
You want to play them again? I feel like
I
you've
will
played
totally
these so
play
many
them
times.
again, and I'll play Lego Force Awakens again. I
We're-
love
we're
those
gonna,
games.
So the upgrades will get obviously better graphics than on the Wii, and presumably based on the PS4 version that already came out last year. It's been announced for Xbox as well. It has never come out on Xbox One, so they're rectifying that with the Switch version coming out at the same time, and all the DLC is included. So it'll be a pretty meaty package. Then finally, there's been some controversy around The World Ends With You Final Remix, which is making its way to Switch.
Yes.
You want to let in the listeners and viewers?
Sure. So The World Ends With You Final Remix was at PAX, and some Japanese journalists were also able to play it in Japan recently, and it's been confirmed that the Pro controller will have no support with this game. And I don't know, when I read that, my first thought was obviously, because, well, if you played the game on the DS, it's all touch controls.
Right.
So it would be odd to have the touchscreen enabled with handheld mode and then to somehow have that enabled with the Pro controller. And they actually just came out with a new trailer in Japan, which kind of shows how both control schemes will work, either whether you're using the touchscreen or with the Joy-Cons.
You can kind of guess at it when you're watching the footage.
Yeah.
You can see the floating
Yeah,
cursor.
but you can see the cursor. So with the Joy-Cons, you can actually separate them and then have co-op mode. And there's drop-in co-op mode. Well, you'll play the main character Neku, and then you will have a friend who will play whoever your partner is at the time. And you use the buttons and the cursor to use your pins, which are your different attacks. And it looks interesting and it looks cool. And I read an article from US Gamer who was able to play the game at PAX and said it was really easy to get into and works really well.
Yeah.
So I'm not
in the
upset
past,
about it.
I have to say, when I read that, I was like, oh no. And then I was like, no, of course. It makes sense. It's
Yeah.
a touchscreen game. But I haven't seen the pointer controls pulled off that well on the Switch compared to the Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this, I think, provides sort of an interesting dilemma for future-proofing games from this era, right? I mean, there was a while there where tons of great best-selling video games came only to touchscreens, and specifically the Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo has a long legacy of making kind of touchscreen exclusive games to that platform. You look at stuff like, there's 2 Zelda games on that system, right? Like, how do you port those to Switch? So there's a lot of stuff that's sort of just locked into place on this one platform. And I'm glad it's making its way to a modern system where it can be future-proofed a little bit, but also to play something like that with a Pro controller, you'd have to retool the entire
Well, I
game.
think it's a trade-off, isn't it? Because if you had to heavily adapt it, they might just run the maths on it and go, it's not worth the effort.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not worth taking that back into development and adapting this game heavily.
Right. Look at something like Phantom Hourglass, right? Like, what do you do with that game? Do you port it and it's touchscreen only, or it's pointer controls only? Like, it's interesting. So.
Yeah. No, I'm curious to see if they will port some of the more kind of like core 3DS touchscreen games and try to pull them off with pointer controls.
Well, it's also
I think
because
it'd be difficult, but
the Switch is not really designed to be interacted with a stylus. You just don't think about it. It doesn't come with one.
About that, so the limited edition of The World Ends With You Final Remix in Japan will be coming with a specific stylus to use
Oh, cool.
Switch. So I'm wondering if we're going to get something like that, or if stylus will start being sold commonly in stores specifically for the Switch.
That kind of takes the Switch away from before it came out, where they were basically like, no, we're going to have this parity of experience across handheld and TV.
Yeah.
And I wonder as we go longer into the lifespan of the Switch, whether those rules get increasingly relaxed.
To this day, there's already still a handful of games that are handheld only that you can't play on TV. We did a rundown on Up at Noon, but one of them was this game called Voz, which is basically a touchscreen music game.
I played it.
And yeah, you can't play that on your TV, or at least you couldn't a couple months ago. I don't know if they patched it.
it doesn't happen often. But there may be more portable only games. Kylander from the chat says, I thought The World Ends With You was great on DS, but I just don't know what they could add to make it worth paying another $70 Aussie dollars. That's from the Aussie eShop, obviously, where everything sounds more expensive.
So the graphics obviously are updated.
Yeah.
All of the music is uncompressed. So, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard the World Ends With You soundtrack, but I loved it when it first came out, and it sounds so much better now that it's not compressed to fit on a DS cartridge.
Was that the only way to hear it back in the day? Or, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I found some illegal zip files of the music online back in the day, but they were still compressed.
Right,
There
right.
there was no way that I could find it uncompressed anywhere. And now they have it there. They've also composed new music. There is a whole new story featuring a new character on your side and a new Reaper, which is one of the bad guys. And I don't know if that'll be just a day, which will be just 3 hours in-game time, or if it'll be an entire week, which could be 10 hours of additional gameplay.
Right.
So it's enhanced, it's better, it has co-op added to it, it has a brand new story chapter to it that might kind of clue us in a little bit more on this world that they created.
There you go.
Cool.
Go mow some lawns in
This is
Sydney or Perth or Brisbane.
Yeah, this is one of
Get
my
the
favorite
$70.
DS games
it
I've
happen.
ever played. So if you haven't played The World Ends With You, you should definitely get it on the Switch.
Awesome.
Do
There are a
that.
couple of games that actually already came out on Switch that we wanted to talk about in previous years and kind of skipped over that I wanted to just spend a minute on. The first one was Freedom Planet.
Yeah.
That one snuck out. If you guys aren't familiar with that, that's a game from Galaxy Trail that came out. I think almost 4 years ago.
In 2014.
Team in Denmark, and basically, it's kind of the Sonic game you've always
Looks
wanted.
very familiar.
Yeah, it is. I mean, once you start playing, you're like, oh, I get it, it's Sonic. And that's because it started as a fan project, or as a Sonic fan project, and then, the developer decided, hey, I want to make this my own IP. And so when you see it being played, you have 3 characters that you can play as they're all, animals. It will feel so familiar in just kind of like the speed and the feel and the enemies and all the moves you can do. But it's very lovingly created. I'm really enjoying this. I wish the levels weren't quite that long. I mean, it lends itself to really running fast and not stopping a lot. But like the levels can be very, very long.
No, it looks really cool, and all of the 3 main characters are all females. And the main character is a dragon.
Yep.
There's a basset hound and a cat that rides a motorcycle. There's a dragon that has a plane.
Yeah.
You are doing really well to sell it.
Yeah.
All those things sound great.
No, it sounds awesome because it is. And look, the dragon fights with her hair. Like, it looks cool,
As
man.
dragons usually
Yeah.
do.
No, I watched the trailer for this game. There's also voice acting in it, and it actually sounded pretty good.
It's fully voiced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every character, every line is spoken. It has these cutscenes all like rendered in 2D, and like the sounds sound like the Genesis too, which is really, really cool.
To be fair, the Sonic games had voice acting too. It had that guy saying Sega at the beginning.
Oh,
That's
well.
right.
Wow. That's actually that is Sonic saying that.
Is it?
Yeah, that's a little known fact.
Really? It sounds like 4 people saying
Yeah. All of the Sega cast.
So there was another game though that we skipped. That's Carol Blaster, which you played.
So speaking of sort of like 2D action platforming games, I really love this game. It's called Carol Blaster with a K. It's from the creator of Cave Story, which I'm sure all of you have played by now. It's been ported to Switch and Wii U and 3DS and everything. This game is a little less Metroidvania and more of a sort of straightforward action platforming game.
Is that allowed? A game that's not a Metroidvania on the Switch?
There were some problems at QA, but they finally did let it on the eShop. So that's good. It's not a shmup and it's not a Metroidvania, so it was tough to get it on there. But this game,
Blardo11 from the chat suggested that we add a rule to the NVC drinking game. Drink every time Brian says shmup. So just so you know.
great. Shmup. Drink it
go
up.
on there.
So Carol Blaster stars a frog with a gun, and he works for a company that's basically like an extermination company, I think. And he gets jetpacks, and he gets to go underwater and fight all these bad guys. And it's really cool. There's something off about this game, and I don't mean that in like a gameplay way, because I think the gameplay is rock solid. I think everyone in this game looks like they're in pain, including the frog. He's just got this very flat, like they didn't cartoonize him really. He's just got this dead
It looks
frog
kind of
look.
miserable. He's just like indifferent to it.
Yeah,
He
I really
smiled
love it.
for a second when he got a jetpack, I think.
Yeah.
But I would.
I think he's compensating for something with those guns. Because, I mean, as a frog, he should be able to, exterminate those insects with his tongue.
That's true.
He's not using
That
it.
is true. So this game is
No
level
way to
based.
go there.
It's got really fun bosses, and it gets pretty tough. I think it's like $10, and you can fly through it in a couple hours, and it's just totally rock solid. I played it on iOS.
Not as good as Cave Story, but worth playing.
Yeah, I mean it's totally kind of a different direction than Cave Story. It's not as long, but I actually really like it.
Cool.
Check it
That's
out.
awesome. So those were 2 games we skipped. But the Switch never stands still.
There are way too many games out this week. I just don't even know what to do with myself.
22 new games. No, I don't want to say new. 22 games came out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them were ports or re-releases, but 22 new titles that you can download from the eShop or buy on cartridge. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did, we went through the list and we kind of culled it down to our favorite games, the games that either look the most promising or that we've spent time with on other platforms. So there are a couple of other games that we're not going to get to, like Lifeless Planet,
Which I just started.
Looks interesting, but didn't get a ton of good reviews when it first came out. NBA 2K19, as of us sitting down here, we haven't gotten a copy of the game yet on any platform. Obviously, it's a great franchise. Gone Home, we talked about. Dust and Elysian Trail, all games that are coming out. But what we will talk about are 3 shmups. Well, we'll talk about one a
they have to
little
Well, is
bit
there a
more.
difference between a shmup
So-
and a bullet hell?
So no, the bullet hell games are shmups, but
Yeah.
they
But are all
are.
But not
Shmups,
all
bullet
shmups
hells.
are bullet
Are
hells.
people
That's
playing
right.
this drinking game right now? Because
Yeah.
I'm really worried. For
Yep. We're real, and it's the middle of the afternoon where we are.
If
so.
the
And you have to
Switch-
drink schnapps
If the,
with Schweppes.
Nice. Ooh, delicious. So, if this week is any indication, shooting game fans definitely don't are not wanting of games. So we have Full Blast, which is this 80s inspired game with 2-player co-op. We have Azure Reflections, which already came out on the PS4, now made its way to the Switch. All of them games, top-down scrollers with lots and lots of bullets on screen. But the one that caught our attention out of that bunch was Shikondo Soul Eater, and it's the rare Korean game that makes it out to the Switch. Ironically, it uses Japanese-style art, so it's based kind of like in Japanese mythology, and you get like the kind of hanya. You saw those weird like devil masks, and you get no masks, and a lot of like kind of Japanese-inspired art in the background.
Looks awesome. I have no idea what's going on.
I think they do a really good job with the borders in this game. There's a lot of I don't want to say the word again, shoot 'em up games that
Yep.
come to Switch where they just kind of put black bars on the side or some sort of generic pixel art. This looks really beautiful.
Yeah, it has some really kind of creepy, cool, big boss battles in it. And the hook with this game, it's a little bit like Ikaruga. If you guys remember, you had the black and white mechanic. In
Yep.
this one, you build up your special if you fly close to the bullets. So the idea is to get as close as possible
death, yeah.
to the many, many bullets on the screen. So it shouldn't be too hard. And then you build up your special and you can unleash it in a giant attack. So yeah, a pretty cool game that
And
I think.
it has nothing to do with the anime Soul Eater, just if anyone was wondering that.
Not the same. Yeah. There are a couple of other games. There's the one to get the award for most original title is Ziggy, A Fart for Melusina, which is kind of like a Ghosts and Goblins like kind of platformer featuring a farting knight. I thought you would want to play it. I haven't played it yet, so I don't know.
I actually
if
did
it's
play
good.
a little of this game.
Of course you have.
This sort of it feels a lot like an iOS game. I didn't do the research on if it is, but
Okay.
it feels like one. It's short, bite-sized levels. I wasn't crazy about the hit detection or the physics in this game. It's
Yeah.
it's a little bit wonky, and it is about farts a lot, which is just off-putting. But ultimately, it's a kind of charming, kind of quirky 2D platforming game. If for some ungodly reason you are starved for those on Switch, there's yet another one for you to try. It's not as hard as Ghosts and Goblins, so.
So maybe that one, think twice about it.
Yeah.
Check out the videos first. But let's get to some of the games that we really liked. So one was Planet Alpha. This is published by Team 17. It's $20. We had Tina on previously on our Gamescom show because this was shown in playable form at Gamescom, and we we're all able to get a hold of it. It's really pretty. It's just a very imaginative game about being marooned on a planet. You crash land, and then the game gives you nothing story-wise. And as you explore the levels, usually from the left to the right, you are learning more and more about the civilization or what's going on this planet. And a lot of like big creatures. I think Tina described it as having an art style a little bit like No Man's Sky.
It's
if you
that
look at the
colourful,
visuals.
hopeful space.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
kind of abstract as well.
They use a lot of contrast with the colors,
Yep.
and it's really cool. Like, it's very eye-catching. Like, all of the screens that we just saw were very beautiful.
Very vibrant.
It
yeah.
didn't look like there was a ton of like conflict or enemies. Is it?
Well, it looks like that's going on around you, but it doesn't look like you're really much
Yes.
interacting with that.
So that was my impression, and why I was a little worried about this game when I played it for the few minutes I got to see it at Gamescom. That it is a little bit more puzzle based rather than action based. So you're avoiding a falling element, or like you're jumping on a platform and it crumbles or it tips over, and you have to kind of like time your jump and get off it. But it's more about kind of learning how the world acts more than avoiding specifically, like being very skillful at avoiding something. This is a little
really
bit more like a puzzle game.
Yeah, I think I'm going to buy this.
Yeah, doesn't it
This
look
looks
cool?
Really beautiful. Damn.
Yeah, I just love the art style, and it does have. It's a little bit more like Journey, like those games where it evokes an emotion through you exploring the world. So you can see some of the
it looks really
platforms,
varied
yeah.
as well.
So this is Planet Alpha.
Planet Alpha, yeah, and you can download that on September 4th.
Cool.
Yeah, which is in the past.
In the past.
Oh, man. You can get that right now.
Check it
I
out.
Well, you
went,
can
I
only
went to
download it for
sleep
one day.
and woke up. Yeah. So that one's really cool. But another game that I think all of us have played that has made its leap to the Switch is Broforce.
Yep.
Yeah.
You played it?
Yeah, it's a really fun game and it's really stupid and it's got like cool characters. Like it is obsessed with 80s stupid bro action movies.
Yeah.
And it kind of has all its main characters are kind of like thinly veiled parodies of well-known characters.
Very obvious takes, like, you know.
There's like fake Steven Seagals and fake
There's Chuck
fake
Norris,
There's
there's Ellen Ripley.
This game had a tie-in with the Expendables, I think.
Did it?
Yeah, Expendables 3.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if
The
I'm
Expendables
remembering
is
this
based on
wrong.
this.
Yeah,
I know, right?
They're definitely in the same universe. Like this is like kind of what you imagine is happening in Terry Crews's brain at any given moment.
So I played this 4-player with my kids.
Yeah.
On a previous platform when it first came out, and it's really fun, but it's so chaotic.
Yeah.
Like one player hitting an explosive barrel can ruin it for everybody, and it's so fast, and you can die so fast. But we had a ton of fun, and it was just fun. Like when you die and you pick a new character, like exploring, like discovering that they have their own takes on like Ivan Drago and stuff.
Yeah, and
It's
that,
really-
like turning a
Hilarious.
well-known illusion into a game mechanic, being the first to get to the chopper,
Yep.
Yeah.
is a
Yeah,
really
to the
cool
chopper.
idea, and jump onto it and just go off into the distance.
Yeah, and so when you're playing in single
everybody's
player,
like, no.
for clarity, this is a sort of a 2D side-scrolling action game that's way more about shooting stuff than it is so much about platforming, because you can sort of terraform the environment with your guns. You can blow stuff up. You can create, tunnels and platforms. You can also wall jump, so traversal is really fun and easy. If you're watching the video now, you see the character commit suicide a lot, which happens constantly. And then in single player, you kind of get to the top and fight. You have to fight Satan basically and kill him. But you also have to free prisoners, and you can switch to them because there are other characters in the game. It's really fun. I noticed that just from the little I played so far, it's performing pretty well on Switch, which it didn't really when I first played it on PS4.
Yep.
So that's good to know. I don't know how well it will hold up in multiplayer
with
modes.
all that going on. I mean, it
Yeah.
did
You
slow
can do
down
it with 4
originally.
players at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Very
four
chaotic.
players, and honestly, we talked about drinking games, but this game is if you have your friends over for an evening, this is absolute mayhem, super fun.
Yep.
I think well worth the $15. This comes from Devolver, right?
Yeah, it's Devolver game.
Devolver published it. Free Lives made it. Really good game. Another really cool game, which I didn't get to play yet, but I think you guys have, is Hyperlight Drifter. The special edition is out
Yeah.
today.
This is another very cool looking game. Like visually it's quite stunning. It's like got all these like cyan and magenta like tones, and it's like kind of hypnotic and trance like, but it's kind of this kind of 2D action RPG. And what I really like about it is kind of quite an oblique game, because you start off in the world and you have an incurable disease, and you've got to like explore this kind of ruined civilization for kind of a cure, but it's really indirect storytelling. And I don't want to use the example of Dark Souls, but it's a little bit like that.
We're not allowed to compare
Yeah.
things.
This is one of the first indie games that really crossed my radar in a very big way. Like when it first came out, which was, I don't know, when did this first game come out? I learned about it at a PAX East, I think in like 2012.
It's already gone through like PlayStation. It's
yeah.
been on PSN for free. It's done the rounds.
It's a late arrival, but it's a welcome one.
Yeah, and like the combat is like fairly challenging. It's about chaining attacks. You slash, you recharge your guns, you get shotguns, you get sniper rifles. It's not just like fancy weapons.
Would you say it feels sort of linked to the pasty in some ways, or
Well,
more
I
of
think
like an
the
action-
original
pasty is the copy, yeah.
I think the original elevator pitch for it was like a bit of Legend of Zelda, a bit of Diablo.
Oh, cool.
So it's
I'm
like there's
into that.
dungeons and there's bosses and there's light puzzle elements, but it's mainly
This is like right up my alley, and for some bizarre reason, I've never played it, and
Well,
I
now's your
know
chance.
I know what I'm gonna do. I'm going to buy it on Switch, and then I'm gonna turn on my PS4 in like a week and realize I have it there already, which is what I've done with so many games.
also the
But-
soundtrack for it is excellent.
right.
Awesome.
It's gorgeous too. I'm into it.
For $20, worth getting.
If you've not played it before, absolutely.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. Another game for Switch that's coming out is SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy, out on September 7th.
So I see.
Yeah,
I don't actually know very much about this game.
but
I do know that it features a bunch of heroines from SNK franchises like King of Fighters.
yeah,
And it includes Terry Bogard, the main character of King of Fighters.
Not
as
really. it
As a
includes
female.
the lady
No,
version of
so
Terry
no,
Bogard.
the canon story is that all of these characters from the SNK universe, all of the different games they've come out with, wake up in this mansion in weird costumes, and Terry wakes up and is a girl.
Yeah.
It is him.
Confused.
The
He wakes
official
up and it's like,
explanation
I'm a girl
is
now.
that it may have been the result of a prank. So beware, this may happen to you.
Did
at
somebody
any time.
prank their
But,
clothes away too?
So obviously a very titillating Japanese fighting game. Actually, the second one on the Switch in 2 weeks. We just got Blade Strangers from Studio Saizensen. We had an NVC deep dive. If you go back to episode 417, you can you can see that. But yeah, this I mean, it looks really good, and the SNK fighters definitely have their fans. I could, I mean, to be completely honest, back in the age when I was playing Street Fighter 2 every day, I couldn't get into King of Fighters or Fatal Fury. Like they were always being played in arcades near me, and I could never quite get into it. But this looks really nice, like just art style wise.
And there, you can actually unlock costumes, and you can dress up your characters and take them into a photo mode, I think. I'm not sure, but it's...
That's surprising.
I know, right?
Is it though?
But
No,
I think
but
it's
it's
meant to be more of a fun, lighthearted, like party fighter. Like you play with your friends, not necessarily play it specifically for the challenge of the fighting game. I think it has like single button combos mapped, so it's a little bit simplified, and you can't beat a character by landing just a regular move. You have to use a finishing move on them.
Oh, interesting. That's an interesting angle.
So it's a lot
I
easier.
can't be doing that on the tube. I can't be playing that.
No, bring that on the airplane. Let everyone.
On the I thought you said on the cheap. You
On
said
the
on the
tube.
tube. That's
Yeah.
your subway.
I can't be taking
Yes.
photos on the tube. But
You're not going to put a telephone on Mai Shiranui's head. You're not going to do that. All right, but if you're into fighting games, not just shmups.
Yeah.
There are plenty of those as well, and more to come as we've heard. And finally, the 3DS also obviously got a new game with Yokai Watch Blasters, Red Cat Corp, and White Dog Squad. And you played this?
Yeah, so I played this at a preview event a while ago. We put up a gameplay video, so if you look up for a gameplay video, there's some of that. But anyway, it's basically an expansion of a mode that was introduced in Yokai Watch 2 called, I think, the same thing. But you, instead of it being a turn-based RPG, you actually take control of the monsters and go into different levels and fight bosses. And it's, I originally was comparing it to like a Pokemon Rumble type game, but it's a little bit deeper than that, where you can actually customize your characters, and it has a lot more RPG elements than a game like Pokemon Rumble has. Like there are stats, you can give your monsters items, you have different moves that you can learn, and they have different abilities. Like one will be a tank, one can be a support, one will be a fighter, and they have different special moves. And you can also switch between, I think, 3 different monsters between the 3 at the same time, and it's also co-op, so you can play with someone else.
Nice. Are you gonna sink some serious time into Yokai Watch? Are you a Yokai Watch fan?
I'm actually not a huge fan. Like I know Jibanyan, and I know like
It has
some
monsters,
basic
and
stuff.
you don't hunt them.
I know you don't. Well,
You're no friend of monsters.
I really like Pokemon. Yeah, I just haven't gotten super into it.
Yeah.
So
You
I
and
tried
most of America, actually.
Yeah, I tried watching the anime actually, and I like watched the first 2 episodes, and you know what really turned me off was the ending song.
That's it. That's what it took, the ending song.
Yeah, the ending. I was like, it reminded me of one of those four kids like Saturday cartoons.
Oh yeah, like where the lyrics are made up and you will like them.
And they do a specific choreographed dance.
You know what I'm talking
And-
about, right? Like when you have like
Yeah.
these kids' cartoon lyrics, and it sounds like the guy just wrote them down.
Oh, you mean like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Oh, yeah.
The greatest theme song of all time.
They're awesome.
Yeah, I know what you're
powerful.
talking about.
But some of the dialogue between the adult characters in that show are actually really hilarious and funny, and I should probably give it another chance.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, it's slim pickings for the 3DS right now. Not a ton of games coming out.
It
but
was
that's the big
fun. It
September
was
game.
fun when I played it, especially co-op. And I love RPG systems, and the fact that they make it deeper than what it appeared on the surface was really interesting to me. And there's a whole like big hub to explore and a bunch of different things to unlock.
Nice.
Cool.
So if you like action RPGs,
Sweet. Again, there are 22 new games on the Switch. So if none of these tickled your fancy,
Good luck.
go look in the good luck. Look in the eShop. There are more, but we do feel pretty confident that these are the cream of the crop this week. We haven't played some of the other titles, but we will. I'm sure Brian by next week will have played them.
I'll do everything I can.
I'm going to go to the chat now, and we're going to scroll kind of around and pick some questions from chatters. There's Ho J Films asking the question, "What's your favorite Nintendo soundtrack ever?"
Oh man.
So I think we should limit it not to Nintendo as in NES, but as Nintendo-made game.
okay.
Oh sure. Okay.
Yeah.
any Nintendo made game.
Mine, Link to the Past. There's so many amazing melodies in that title that have come back in future titles, and they were orchestrated so well. And the ending song from Link to the Past that they play over the end credits is freaking amazing. Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Recent one, because it's different. Like, it's more incidental, and sometimes it fades out and it's contextual. And it's also, I know it's not just the soundtrack, but it's also listening to that world and how the sounds of that environment interplay and mingle with the soundtrack is really impressive.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really like Super Mario Galaxy. It was some of the first times they worked with kind of like a full orchestra, and they moved away from MIDI sounding stuff, and it just has this really full, really well produced sound. It's not really the kind of stuff I would like listen to in my car or something like that, but it fits perfectly for the game. It gets you really excited to play it.
Mm-hmm.
This is so hard.
Is it Pokemon?
No. I am having a hard time deciding between Zelda games, but I really love Twilight Princess's overworld theme.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to go with Twilight Princess, but Majora's Mask is a very, very close second for soundtracks.
Yeah, look, if you go into the Metroid series, you go into Earthbound has amazing music. The Super Mario
We'll
games
do this
are
on
amazing.
Smash.
Like,
You've got that
you can-
jukebox.
Well, I guess Super Smash Brothers has the best soundtrack.
Well,
because
the new version, they've
puts
got
them all
that
together.
900
Yeah.
hours of music you can listen to.
There you go. That's
Exactly,
an easy cop-out answer for you. Question from Blardo11. Thoughts on Bastion coming to Switch? If you didn't see, Bastion got announced the Switch version. One of his favorite indie games of all time. He can't wait to replay it. You
I know
guys
we
happy?
talked about this quite a bit last week as well.
I think
Yeah,
NVC
we're all very
was
happy about it. Yeah.
the announcement.
Yeah, it's good news.
Yeah, that's
Part of the, port everything to Switch initiative.
J Digital 2 is asking, is Labo successful or not?
I don't know.
I think Nintendo is a little disappointed that it didn't become a bigger thing.
Right.
But it's a positive success for them, because I think schools and workshops are using Labo, and
It's not a failure.
does fairly well, right?
Yeah, it's not a failure. It's obviously still getting support.
Yeah.
They
Vehicle kit coming out next week.
A new kit coming out. They added support to Mario Kart for the Labo steering wheel or motorcycle thing. So yeah, it's tough to say because I don't really know what.
It's not really a thing you repeat play. Like, you build it, and it's like, it's okay for things to be sort of ephemeral. Like, just because you built the piano once and you played with it for a bit, like certain Christmas presents I adore because I associate them with Christmas and I love them for 2 weeks and then they kind of go away.
Right.
But like, this doesn't mean. It's not. I didn't expect to play the Labo piano for like 5 years.
Well,
like,
we have an odd notion of sort of longevity when it comes to the video game industry because we don't think, generally speaking, we think of experiences as products that we can hold on to on a shelf forever.
and we do value for money equations.
Yes,
like,
of course.
How many hours is this game?
Yeah.
And sometimes with the Labo equation, I think, oh, that's expensive for what it is. But like, there's different ways of
Whereas-
You
evaluating
can also
that.
go and play $20 for a 2-hour movie.
If we all went out to dinner and it was $100 each and we had an amazing dinner and then it just we left.
Yeah.
Like that happens all the time. And I think Labo, like I loved building the piano. I put up a video on Twitter of me like incorporating it into my music setup, like adding like hip hop drums to it and stuff. That was really fun. And then I brought it into work and just put it under a desk somewhere. And that's where it lives.
You move on. I mean, it's definitely there's certain games like Smash Brothers that appeal to pretty much everyone who owns a Switch, and this was, I think, calculated to be for people who like crafts and that connection to technology and like the tinker stuff. So I think it did well for being that sort of niche game.
Yeah,
But,
it's also not had its first holiday yet, so we'll see. I mean, if they start pushing it for Christmas, then maybe it'll get another bump.
Kylander has a question for Krupa. Is Prepared to Try planning on ever doing a DS2 playthrough, or does the thought of Powers trying to get through Scholar of the First Sin give him nightmares?
We've actually already said that. Yeah, like it's hard to keep everyone on the same page, but we have announced that we are doing Dark Souls 2. I'm researching that at the minute and putting together episode plans, and I think we'll start shooting it in November
Nice.
or October, November.
Very
You
nice.
heard it here first.
What, sorry? Yes, and I think Finchie for the first time is going to be a woman.
Ooh.
Oh,
Lady Finch.
Yeah.
Lady
It's
Finch.
it's an SNK like tribute. That's
Yeah.
very nice. Question for Brian, honestly, from TubeStar. Thank you for supporting IGN by being a Prime member. Teenage Mutant Ninja Power. Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle, and do you see a remake of Turtles in Time coming to the Switch?
Oh, sure. It'll come to Switch because everything will come to Switch. So that's good news. That was just announced in my own brain. Raphael is my favorite turtle because he's sarcastic and depressed and still makes it work. Please end the show on a better note than that.
Casey, are you a TMNT fan?
I was
or
a
no?
giant TMNT fan when I was a little kid. My favorite was Michelangelo. When I went to MGM Studios, when it was MGM Studios in Florida, I went straight to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stage and refused to leave until the show started.
Wow.
So
Wow,
That's beautiful.
I was a huge Turtles fan. My mum even made me a Ninja Turtles costume of Michelangelo. I have a picture of it. It's a shame this is live, otherwise we could show that.
she paint you
And
green?
as she made it all herself, she stitched it, and on the little belt buckle that said Michelangelo, that was actually a lid from a tub of coleslaw.
Oh, send that to us for
Yeah.
next time. We'd love to feature that.
That's
And,
amazing.
Speaking of next time, we have
Wait,
to
what's
wrap
your
it up
favorite
here. Donatello.
Okay, that's good. I agree with that. That's totally you.
Like I didn't watch the turtles. We watched like awesome like German
He's the
turtles.
science, yeah.
They were real turtles. And
Awesome German real life turtles.
and they walked really slowly.
They walk very slowly.
They live in a zoo.
That is all the NVC, all the Nintendo talk we have for you this week. But you can, of course, come back every Thursday and
With
watch
more
us
turtle
live
talk.
at 3 p.m. or watch the show after it airs live. If you want to ask us questions, of course, you got to join the chat and do so there. If you like to watch more shows, we also have Prepared to Try that Daniel is in, and Game Scoop and Unlocked and Beyond. You can get those shows at podcasts, find their YouTube channels, or watch them preferably, which we love you for, on IGN, and leave us feedback there. Where can people find you when you're not on NVC?
Oh man, you can find me on Twitter at ShinyKCD.
Ryan?
You can find me at Agent Bizzle. I'm also on Up at Noon every Thursday, noon Pacific time
Nice.
on IGN.
I forgot that one. So sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Mr. Krupa.
I'm at Krupa. Nice and simple. 5 letters.
And go
Nice.
watch Prepare to Try.
And I'm Per IGN on Twitter, and you can ask me questions there as well, and come back next week. Thank you so much, and get the thing.